America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
They weren't laughing at me. They were laughing with me. We had fun. That was not laughing at me. So, the fake news said people laughed.
So true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
At President Trump, they didn't laugh at me. People had a good time with me. We were doing it together. We had a good time.
We are standing up for America and for the American people. And we are also standing up for the world. This is great news for our citizens and for peace-loving people everywhere. We believe that when nations respect the rights of their neighbors and defend the interests of their people, they can better work together to secure the blessings of safety, prosperity, and peace. Each of us here today is the emissary of a distinct culture, a rich history, and a people bound together by ties of memory, tradition, and the values that make our homelands like
China has total respect for Donald Trump and for Donald Trump's very, very large brain. Why has President Trump given so much to North Korea? I said, if I wasn't elected, you would have had a war. President Obama thought you had to go to war. You know how close he was to pressing the trigger for war? We're not doing well. Let me call the Russians to help. We have pictures of President Trump. Whoa, where can I get him? Wow, that's a lot of hands. You're with who?
Hannah Thomas Peter from Sky News.
Okay, good. Sky News.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Congratulations on the purchase.
Nothing to do with me.
I hope you benefited. Yeah, you. Guy looks like he's shocked. That's not. This is going to be not good.
It's going to be good.
The guy
sir.
looks totally like stunned. Have you ever been picked before for a question? Excuse me. You said where? From where?
Rudaw Media Network from Kurdistan region, north of
Okay.
Iraq. I'm a Kurd.
Good. Good.
Sir,
Great people.
thank you, sir.
Great
Mr.
people.
Mr. President,
Thank you.
I wanna,
Are you a Kurd?
Mr. President,
Good. They're
Mr.
great
President-
people. They're great fighters. I like them a lot. Let's go. I like this
Mr.
question so
President,
far.
you-
Yes, please, Mr. Kurd. New York Times. Come on, New York Times. The failing New York Times. Stand up. Go ahead. I like President Xi a lot. I think he's a friend of mine. He may not be a friend of mine anymore, but I think he probably respects, from what I...
Competing interests of regional and extra-regional powers are deepening long-standing fissures and widening the fault lines, even as the tragedy of Palestine continues to fester.
People would come up to me individually. It wasn't a setup. They'd come up to me and say, sir, you can't have peace in the Middle East without peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. I said, why? What difference? Why does that matter so much?
Can you give us any more preview of what this great deal, the peace deal?
Well, I'd love to
talked
be
about
able to
this
make a
week?
deal with the Israelis and the Palestinians. You know, my whole life I was told that's the toughest deal. And I disagree. I think healthcare is probably tougher. Okay, you want to know the truth. At one of our many meetings today, I was with Bibi Netanyahu, a man who I have a lot of respect for, a man who's been extremely nice to me. Very happy that I did the whole thing with Jerusalem and the embassy. But one of the reporters that was screaming asked about the one state, two state. I think we're going to go down the two-state road. And I'm glad I got it out. And Jared, who's so involved, he loves Israel. He loves Israel. But he's also going to be very fair with the Palestinians. He understands it takes two people to be happy, two groups of people to be happy. Everybody's got to be happy. And that's why it's so tough. Because there's been so much hatred and anger for so many years. That's what probably the number one ingredient of toughness is. But they asked me, I said, I think it's going to be a two-state. And you know what I did today? By saying that, I put it out there. And if you ask most of the people in Israel, they agree with that. But nobody wanted to say it.
Dark clouds of trade wars are looming large on the horizon. Challenges of climate change, environmental degradation, pandemics, transnational organized crime, and sustainable development are becoming ever more complex.
Corrupt dictatorship in Iran. The depraved regime in North Korea. We cannot allow the world's leading sponsor of terrorism, this band of criminals, arm itself with nuclear weapons to possess the planet's most dangerous weapons. It is time for all nations to work together to isolate the Kim regime. We ask all nations to isolate Iran's regime.
It is a well-known fact that Israel has nuclear weapons, but the Israeli government doesn't officially talk about what kinds of weapons and where, etc.
The post-World War idealism is giving way, slowly but surely, to a hardened, militaristic approach. This trend, Madam President, is not only regressive, it is downright dangerous.
And then there's the assassination of United States President Kennedy in '63. We want to know who killed him and why. The whole world knows that Kennedy wanted to investigate the Israeli Dimona nuclear reactor. This involves international peace and security and weapons of mass destruction. That is why we should open this file.
We note with concern seismic shifts in the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. As existing conflicts exacerbate, new threats have emerged.
A yes-no question for you. Does Israel have nuclear capabilities and nuclear weapons? Yes or no?
We've always said that we won't be the first to introduce it, so we haven't introduced it.
But that's not an answer to the question. Do you have them or do you not?
Of any country. It's as good an answer as you're going to get. But
what I'm saying is, if disclosure matters so much, what message does it send when you won't confirm something that is widely believed by the entire international community? How does that inspire the spirit of disclosure?
I said that it's not the spirit of disclosure, it's a commitment, specific written commitment by Iran as part of the deal to disclose what it has. Iran undertook that specific commitment.
I understand, but you know what their take on it is that you won't even confirm that you have nuclear weapons when the world already believes that you do. Why? Why keep that quiet?
Well, you can make all your assumptions. One thing is clear, Israel is not threatening the annihilation of any country.
This is evident in different ways by introduction of destabilizing weapon systems, pursuit of discriminatory approaches by certain states to supply advanced military hardware and sensitive technologies, and adoption of offensive force postures and doctrines that imagine conflicts beneath a nuclear threshold. Under the circumstances, Pakistan has no option but to maintain a minimum credible deterrence.
Israel was determined to have a last line of defense it could rely on.
The notion is that Israel should have capability for the worst case scenario. In order to prevent Auschwitz and the memory of Auschwitz and the respect to Auschwitz, Israeli leaders felt that Israel should be in position to threaten with Hiroshima. And if, God forbid, Israel would have to face that kind of eventuality, Israel would have a weapon of last resort. That's what people call the Samson option.
The Samson option owed its name to the Jewish hero who killed many of the Israelites' enemies as he brought about his own death.
But if India does venture across the line of control, or acts upon its doctrine of limited war against Pakistan, it will evoke a strong and matching response. Recently, Muslims across the world were pained at a planned competition of cartoons of our Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. This deeply hurt Muslim sentiments and sensibilities. Madam President, for the past 17 years, Pakistan, at a great cost of life and resources, has been combating the fires of terrorism and extremism. By the determined operations of our armed forces and the full support of our people, Pakistan has turned the tide against terrorism. With the deployment of 200,000 troops, Pakistan has conducted the largest and most effective counter-terrorism campaign in the world. Peace and security have returned to our cities and towns. Pakistan shall never forget the mass murder of more than 150 children in a Peshawar school, the terrible Mustang attack, and many others that have links with terrorists supported by India. And we will never forget the terrorist attack in India against Samjhota Express, carrying innocent Pakistanis, and now its confessed perpetrators are being allowed to walk free.